Hello everyone, welcome to a Sims 4 Mostly video. My name is Mela and I know I haven't updated in a while, but today on this video I'd just like to talk a little bit about what's going on with my game, particularly on how I'm playing and organizing my game. If you're new to this channel, I draw fan art and I build in The Sims 4, and once in a while I put out a little video about it, so if this is a thing that you'd like to see more out of me, do subscribe. So I've talked about this mainly on my Simbler, but I am in the process of putting together a save file. The project is called Sim Daisy's World. It's got a Tumblr post and a hashtag. It started way too long ago when I was streaming on Twitch, and though I have been building and playing in The Sims 4, this has kind of gone by the wayside. However, I'm still committed to this as my own little personal project that I hope to one day share with everyone. So in the past few weeks, when I give myself the time, what I do is I go over all of my builds to start making adjustments, planning what goes where and where it belongs in the game, and all while I am building, of course. I want to build at least one of every venue if I can, and I do plan on building and rebuilding every lot from the ground up. When I build, I always have some kind of story in mind. I don't mean this all-encompassing legacy with characters tied up with different relationships, because let's be honest, The Sims and The Sims 4 are not that deep. However, if I keep their stories in mind, it kind of helps me decide what lots to build, what style of build, the architectural style of the build, how many rooms. And as fun as it is, that's probably one of the things that is overwhelming me about this project. So as the Sims teams keep adding new content and new worlds, not that I'm complaining, there's more to build and update, and ideas just grow. And with so many builds, it was kind of getting out of hand for me. And sometimes I just get paralyzed with too many options. So instead of doing everything I want, I just end up doing nothing. So this is where Trello comes in to save the day. Trello, if you're not familiar with it, is in short, it's a list making app that can help manage projects or sort out your life. I've been using it to manage my art commissions and have recently just started to use it to manage personal art projects as well. You can use it for free, but there is also a premium business account if you need more things, but today I'm just going to talk about my experience with the free version. And I should disclaim that I'm not an expert on Trello. This isn't a sponsored video or anything. I'm just a casual gamer that has focus issues, and I need things to be colorful and fun to hold my attention. So as I was going over my work in progress file and once again loading up a build for like the 15th time because I forgot whether or not I've tested it before, I decided I should start making a list of everything. There's a lot of different ways that you could create lists. You could like literally write it down. You could use other applications such as Google Sheets. This is technically a big project, and projects need management. So I don't know why I didn't think of Trello before for this, but that's what I have here right now. I don't know if anyone else has used Trello for save file building or not, so I just started a board from scratch. So as I mentioned, I have used Google Sheets in the past to manage my Sims 3 world build. Professionally, I've used other productivity tools such as Monday and Salesforce, so I know how helpful these kinds of tools are. Trello is so much more convenient for what I need to do. It's easy to set up and it's easy to learn, in my opinion. So let me show you how I use it for this particular project. So if you're not familiar with Trello, as I said before, it's a list making app. There's a ton of templates that you could start with. There's even a few to organize your housework. It's kind of neat. So anyway, here is my Trello board for the Sims Daisy's world building project. All these columns here, they are lists, and I have a list for every stage of the project, starting with worlds and ending with port to new save, and I'll explain all that in a bit too. So what I've done here is under each of these lists, I've created cards for every world in the game, and I gave them random colors to differentiate between them at a glance. If you're familiar with this sticky note project management, this should be pretty straightforward. And then I created a card for every single lot in the game, and I moved them below their world card. I also started using a standard naming convention so I could easily see what these lots are. For example, I'll have the neighborhood name here, Llama Lagoon. Under Newcrest, I have the name of the lot and the size and the venue type, and I'll also add if it's currently occupied. So now as I start working on a build, I just move the card to its appropriate list under their corresponding world title cards, of course. The lists are pretty straightforward. I have the worlds, of course. I have ideas, in progress, review, playtesting, completed. The idea is to empty out all the cards, all the lot cards from the worlds list, and eventually get them over to the completed list. I add screenshots if I have completed a card, and since I'll be making this board public, I'll be adding links to my download or gallery page if it is available for download, though not all of these builds will be. Some will just be exclusive to the save file. I do have one last column here after the build is complete, and that is the port to new save. So this is where I open up a fresh save file with newly spawned sims, and I place all the builds into this file. I will do one last round of quick testing in build mode just to make sure the builds are all placed properly and nothing is missing, and this will eventually be the file that I will share. The reason that this works for me is that I love the little interactivity with the cards. You can move them around pretty easily. It gives you that little bit of a satisfied feeling and a dopamine rush when you move them into the completed column. And also now I don't have to second guess myself as much when I open up a save file wondering if I've tested a build or not. And I could see at a glance what my progress is like. This can also be helpful if you're like me and you tend to put projects off for months at a time. At least this will all remind you where you are in while we're working on your save file. So I'm enjoying myself so much putting this whole thing together. I thought I'd make a template out of this board to share it. So if this is your thing, I will have a link to the template below so you could copy that for your own save file management. So how does one use this template? It's pretty simple, I think. So step one, you sign up for Trello, obviously. Step two, you open the link to the template from my description. In the YouTube channel. It'll also be added to my Tumblr and my website. So you click on the button at the top that says create board from template. And then you could rename it to whatever you like to name it for. I would recommend keeping the cards and keeping all the template cards and then hit create. So this template will have all the lists that I use, complete with all the world cards for each of the lists. It's actually a lot cleaner and more comprehensive than my actual board because I created this template with what worked and what didn't work for me, and I had that in mind while I built it. So what you want to do first is head over to about this template. You could go in and change the description if you like. There is a little bit more information on how the board works under this description here. You could personalize the board just by going into the menu here. The menu is up here. If it's closed, just click on the show menu button there. Click on change background if you want to change the background to something else. So you, with the free version, you can't customize the background, so you can't upload your own pictures or anything like that. But you can go into the photos. There's a ton of photos here for Unsplash that you could use for the backgrounds for your Trello board, just to make it a little bit more personal. And then, as I mentioned before, you could go in and rename this board if you needed to. So the first list will be all the lots that are in the game. It's sorted under the world's title cards. So you can see Willow Creek here as an example. I really hope I have them all. If I am missing one, let me know and I'll correct it. And I even included Batu, even though you can't technically build any new lots on that world. And speaking of special and hidden lots, I did include a section for secret lots if you choose to edit those lots. So as of making this video, the latest Sims 4 EP, Cottage Living, it hasn't come out yet. And when it does, I will update this template with the available lots. So those, the secret lots, the hidden lots, and the career lots are all at the bottom of this list here. And I have Henford on Bagley on, just to get ready for the new world, basically. So you can open up each of these cards and start adding notes and attaching image files. If you're collaborating with someone, You can assign them this card. You could even give yourself a due date if you're looking to have this project done by a certain date. You could add new cards if you're creating a workspace or if you're just building in general. So if you have any ideas for our build, you could move that lot's card into the ideas list. I'm going to use the pancakes house as an example. I do have an example card for you to take a look at here too in the template. You could delete it if you need to. You can add comments, you could add links, you could add image attachments for your inspiration. So now you have it all in one place for that build. And as I mentioned before, if you're collaborating with somebody, then you could share those ideas. People could go in and add their own links and their own images. If you are using other people's builds for your save file, you might also want to add the download links there for your reference as well. And also, this is your game, of course, so you can edit the titles if you've renamed the build or rezoned the lot, or if you're still in brainstorming mode, you could just comment here for the names of the lots or add their backstories. So that's what this board is all about for me. So now you could move this into the in progress list if you are beginning work on it, and that's where you move the cards once it's being once it's in progress and it's being built. You can add the card to the review list if you wanted to before moving forward. For example, how I use this list is when I've created a build for whatever reason and I'm not sure about. Maybe I've added it to the game and I wasn't sure if the architecture fit the theme of the neighborhood. I review whether or not this will make it to the final save, and or if it needs updating, which happens a lot, especially when a new pack comes out. You can probably mark the builds for reviews with labels instead, and that way you won't need this particular list. But for myself, I just thought it was a little bit cleaner than having a bunch of lots stuck in progress or playtesting. And playtesting is also pretty straightforward. So move this card into the playtesting list. I've also added a checklist of suggestions on what to test because it's kind of what I do in my head already. That would be in the top card here. So you could see the example checklist. You can, of course, edit this as you need to, or not use it at all. So how you would use this is when you move a card to this list, and if you want to use that checklist, just open it up, and you'll see here there is a checklist button. Just click on that. Click on copy items from this pull down menu here. There's a bunch of lists here. What you're looking for is the testing checklist. And then just click on add. So that adds this checklist to this card. And as you start checking items off the list, you'll see that the progress bar starts to complete. And it's again, it helps you see where you are at with a particular build or with your testing progress, and it turns green, of course, when it's complete. So if the building isn't up to snuff, if there's something wrong with it, of course you could just go ahead and move it back into the in progress list, that kind of thing. I only use one color label for my board personally, and that is to mark that certain lots are almost ready to complete. But you could use labels for however you need to. You'll see that there are some labels that exist already. So I have one for empty lot, for example. If you want to see what that's all about, just click on it. Go to the labels, you'll see all the labels here. You could set up labels for whatever you need there. So I have one for special lot and for apartments, but like I said, you could create a different label for whatever you need it for. So once all that is done, you can now move it into the completed list. And then you get this happy little confetti toss saying that you completed it. And I know everyone's process just is different, so I did include a template list that includes all the world cards in here. So if you wanted to create another list, you could just easily copy this list and then hit create the list, and then it'll just add a brand new list at the end there, and then you can move it to wherever it needs to be. You could also, if you scroll down to the bottom here, you could also add different cards too. You could click on add another card to add a brand new card. You could go into the templates here, and then that will bring up all the world title cards that I set up for you. Anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Feel free to use the template for your own sim projects. You're welcome to use it for however you like, whether it's building up a legacy save or just organizing your game in general. Let me know if you do have questions, but remember, I'm still learning how to use and optimize Trello for this project as well. If anything, just leave a comment and we can learn together at least. But thank you for watching this video. Like if it is helpful to you. If you want to keep up on updates on the Sim Daisies World project, follow me on my Simblr or Twitter. That's the best way to start. Or you could just watch my Trello board to see what's going on here. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.